Hello and welcome everyone back to Jurassic World Evolution 2 and welcome back to Jurassic Park 2003. This is a series about what would have happened if Jurassic Park actually would have worked and what would they have done for a 10 years anniversary. And today we are going to focus on the Jurassic Aquarium, which is going to be a Jurassic Park styled lagoon / aquarium area, which is going to feature the Tylosaurus and the Chronosaurus. The single reason why there's also a Chronosaurus is because the shark feeder animation is only working for this one and the Mosasaurus, but I didn't want to put the Mosasaurus just in here because it's gonna get a very own habitat or very own lagoon. So this is going to be madly inspiring, hopefully, for you guys, because I actually was pretty surprised by how well it turned out in the end. Now, I'm actually getting together a couple of things that I found out in just the last couple weeks using some of the mods. Obviously, this one is a modded build. I'm using the expanded terrain and the free build mod. Unfortunately, the expanded Sandbox is not available quite yet, so I'm also missing some of the buildings. I might just go back and change a couple of things once this is updated for the 1.1 version, but at the moment it's not like working exactly as I wanted to. There is something I just, for whatever reason, found out, is that the lagoons, and I initially found this out in my Grand Canyon episode, if you remember. There was the weird feature happening that I could lower and raise terrain within the lagoon, even unmodded, but apparently you didn't see anything. So what just kind of happens is that the lagoons themselves seem to be some sort of full stack animated item, if you will, and that necessarily there is not really a water volume in there. It seems to be like something else. I don't know if it's rendered differently or whatever is the case, but there seems to be a invisible terrain below that. And what you can do, as you can see over here, you can put things on this invisible terrain. So these kind of planters and stuff all are here, and now you can see I'm raising and lowering terrain, which then results into raising and lowering terrain items, which is pretty cool, because that means you can basically put that down. The only things that don't work are plants. The plant brush simply doesn't work, so I have to work with all the decoration area items, and also with the different rocks. But at least the rocks work, which is pretty cool. And I think this is actually one of the biggest improvements for me in this entire game, because it just makes the lagoons so much more enjoyable to build, because you can finally branch out from this, well, pretty standardized shape. There's not really much that you can do with the shape, and now you can do whatever you want with the shape, being a bit more creative here with the planters. And I mean, yes, obviously they will get a bit repetitive after a while, but if you guys try several things and just mix and match some things, you will be able to make this look pretty cool nonetheless. And you can see I even made a little bridge section here for the tour, that you even have a little peekaboo in the lagoon with the tour. The only downside of this is that I did not find any piece that works as a foundation for the tour. So I will end up, unfortunately, having a floaty track here. We are going to look at that in the real-time part again. I still haven't found a solution for that. Maybe I will find some, but yeah, we'll see in the future. And now we come to the main feature of this build. So the shark feeder here is in the central spot. And I wasn't too sure if the animation still works, because I thought maybe it has to do with also the location alongside the barriers of the lagoons. And since I just put that in the middle, I wasn't too sure if they do the animation, but it turns out they do, which kind of leaves me to the conclusion that this is essentially an animation that is kind of connected to the item itself rather than to the lagoon, which might be something interesting to focus on in a future episode. I have several ideas what that could lead to. But yeah, let's focus a little bit now on the main viewing stands over here, because this one is very important, because obviously you can imagine being a bit more in our story here. This means that Jurassic Park would have existed for almost 10 entire years for the anniversary. And hence, over time, they would have done certain things. Now, what we do know about aquatic animals in the canon of Jurassic Park is that they did have an underground aquarium or marine station in which, rumor had it, a Tylosaurus was living, or if it was a mosasaur that has a different kind of style, or what kind of hybrid or whatever that was, is not like really entirely sure, because this is all down to the one Jurassic Park game in which that was featured. So it's not something we have seen too often, but it is considered canon that there was an aquatic creature on the way to be put in the park. And I'm quite certain that this underground research station would not be the one that is going to be public, or open to the public, let's put it that way. Hence, they would have needed to build an attraction for that, and this is what we are going to do. This is essentially the attraction that Jurassic Park would have installed if the experiment with the Tylosaurus or whatever that creature was would have been successful, and they could have put that into an actual guest attraction. I mean, granted, the entire park would have lasted, but that's a different story. And so we are building a couple of backstage areas as well. Now, having the possibility to make these things all so much more interesting looking and stuff, I thought, I should definitely go a bit more into necessary backstage stuff. And so you will see around this lagoon, we will have actually quite a lot of facilities and backstage facilities, and even a hotel is going to be integrated here, as you can see, simply because I thought that this makes a lot of sense, that this would be an entire complex that has been built for this one big attraction. And I mean, we are not speaking like theme park that installs like a couple of attractions a year. This is definitely something that maybe even was only opened 2 or 3 years ago, because that's like such a huge thing that you would have done over the course of time. So I imagine that with the opening of Jurassic Park, they would have first of all made some money, and then over time, and potentially there is even in canon somewhere a bit of trivia that would tell us what exactly they have planned for the coming years. I don't know about that quite yet. I haven't done research on that. So maybe there was even something, but I imagine for this story that I would have gone maybe for 1 or 2 more herbivore areas, and then they would quickly notice that this is potentially not exactly what people want to see, or maybe the young people, the young guests not getting enough excitement from, and then they potentially would have gone into the Raptor Dome as we build, or the Raptors in general, and making some more fancy stuff with some teeth and so on. And once they have done that, they might have even figured, okay, that's still not enough. Let's go for an aviary, which we still have to build. And after that, they potentially would have gone for a lagoon, or vice versa. You never know what kind of animal they would have done first. Maybe a lagoon first, maybe that first. Who knows? But in my ideas, this is the lagoon that they would have installed a couple years later. So if you guys have some additions to the story, I think that's the perfect point to install something in this series, and that is called the comment section stories. I would love to hear again how you would think they would have branched out if Jurassic Park would have existed. In the first episode, I asked you guys what's your favorite memory from the 10 years. Just make a fictional story from where you have visited the park. And now I would love to know what you guys think. What if this park would have been done the way John Hammond imagined it, what kind of attraction would they have done after the initial opening? And what kind of stuff do you think would they have considered to be done and didn't do, maybe because it was too dangerous or whatnot? So please let me know in the comments down below what you think the Jurassic Park management would have decided to do before going into the next area or whatnot. So that would be very interesting. And before we jump over into the real-time part, that is obviously in here as always, we can quickly talk about the rest of this episode. So I'm just putting down a couple of connections here and there, putting some fences down and so on and so forth. But there is still a lot more to do before we are done with this entire build, and so I decided also to keep it to the lagoon and this herbivore area in the backside of the lagoon, and then we will still have one more episode to go with the OG Jurassic Park building style before we then branch out into a bit more of a modern style with the Jurassic World buildings that is obviously on the lower side of this map. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed the voiceover for today. I'm gonna leave you alone with a couple more seconds of a time lapse before then I'll be back with you in the real-time part showing you how that actually looks. Thank you so much for the moment, and I'll talk to you in a couple of seconds. Alright everyone, we are here in the real-time part, and I actually had quite a hefty debate with myself if I would do something more before I'm going to show that off to you, but I kind of ended up keeping it this way. I'm just gonna zoom out real quick before we go into detail. I mean, you've seen most of the building anyways, but before I want to speak in specific about this lagoon area, the Jurassic lagoon area, this is more or less now the original Jurassic Park area, the 2003 anniversary version with the obviously the standard, you know, already 10-year of existence in this mainland, and then we have the T-Rex habitat or the T-Rex pen where it used to be. We have the Raptor areas as they were meant to be, and then we go a bit more into freestyle just in general. Now, I'm quite happy with how that turned out, and I thought, you know, maybe I'm going to do some more, but I decided against it. I think it's actually worth one more episode that I will do in a little bit of a different style. I was planning to do each and every single area to be filled. Then I'm doing a little real-time part, and then we just go on with all of them. So we have filled basically all of these areas, pointing out some things, and then I still have to find out how I'm going to tackle this area, because that's going to be the beginning of the modern part, as if, you know, Jurassic Park would evolve. And I think it's a great idea with this map to say that this is the starting point, and they have thought about making... Oh, wait a second, what's that in the back? That looks almost like as if there is like a little spot where we can build. How cool would that be, by the way, if you have this spot also to get there? Anyways, I'm getting distracted. Let's go back down here, and this is the lagoon area, and I think this is potentially one of my most detailed builds yet, and I just had this in mind all the time to build, and I'm so happy that now, for whatever reason, with the new extended build mods and free build mod and terrain mods, for whatever reason you can lower and raise pieces inside of the lagoon, which is kind of crazy, to be honest. I'm not sure if I just didn't see that in the 1.0 version, but now as it is happening, we can actually see so many cool things here, also below water. If you go in, I mean, they are floating, but if you have the right angle, it just finally looks as if there's something in the water, and I'm just like so happy that this is finally working. It just gives so much more depth to the whole marine habitat, you know. If we look at it like this and then just zoom in a little bit, and you have all these things floating in the water. I mean, we even have some lamps in there that spark it in the night. I'm just a bit sad that it doesn't all go deeper. Like, it would be cool if it always has a foundation. Now this way you have to look at it from a certain angle, but as I said, it's very important to me that we have a bit more of an interesting stuff to look at. So if you keep it that way, and then you have the creatures swimming around, like just as over here, let me just pause the game real quick. Look at that. Look at how much cooler that looks with having the creatures in here with some stuff in the water, right? I mean, this just looks really cool, even though obviously palm trees in the water just make no sense whatsoever. But you get the idea. You get the idea. You know, we can also zoom out real quick, and then we can see it from above. It just makes the whole thing look so much more interesting, and I'm really happy with how this turns out to be looking right now in this build. And yeah, I just want to stay here for a moment. Like, look at that little fishy here. But apparently what you have to keep in mind is that they have no collision, so you will see them clipping through these things basically all the time, as you can see over here. Just chop your head or scratch yourself on the rock, but whatever. Speaking about scratching and merging, you can see obviously these things from the inside don't really look perfectly fine. They look decent enough, you know, but since I just merged them together, it just looks a bit weird, especially with the tower here. But I just went for the looks of that area from the outside, which is how you would look at it rather than the other thing. And that just looks a lot more like as if this is like a full stack stand, which is like a full attraction in which you can have different entrances and stuff. So that is apparently how it would look like. And I imagine that they have maybe even some facilities in here, and then you have to go into the central area to get into the stands, really. So that's the idea. We have some facility buildings here, making sure that the backdrop is also hidden away, because you know what you want to have, and this is something I had in mind all the time. If you're like sitting here, you don't want to see the rest of the park. You want to see the lagoon. You want to see the show, you know. You want to have some points to focus on. This is how the stuff would be built. And if you're standing here, you have all of it, and it's like a little bit more themed, you know, with the backdrop here. So I really thought about having some sidelines and stuff. And I think especially over here, you can see what I was thinking about, you know, having the hatchery here, and everything looks like organic and filled together. And if we just go all the way over here, we have this vista over here. You can even see another stand there in the back, but everything is just like very nicely put together. And then again, we have this very special little car track over here, which is the only thing I'm not really happy with quite yet. We have to still make a gate work here, and then this is obviously, it's pretty weird because it's just driving in mid-air, obviously, because it would be floating, but I just couldn't find a piece that is fitting in here, and it's just low enough, because whenever I lower something down, I also lower the track down, and this is something we don't want. So I'm just keeping it like this for the moment, and hopefully I'm gonna find something in the future that can be utilized to make that like as like a ground pattern. I just need something that has a ground, you know. There has to be like something flat, more flat than this, and smaller, you know. I thought about different pieces, but all of them just didn't work, and that was a bit of a pity. But yeah, it is the way it is. Also, we have a bit more of a backstage area here for the Raptor dome, which is kind of cool as well, because you can technically see you can basically see that there is a lot of backstage here, even though I think, is that the hotel, or what building is that again? I totally forgot what kind of building this is. This is the small power station from, okay, so see, these are all so different looking. That looks kind of cool. It looks really like a backstage area. And then we have another backstage area here, which is another bunch of power supplies and stuff that are connected with some backdrops and stuff. But you can see, trying to hide everything as best as I can. I also used that gate because especially from the hotel, you don't want to see all of that. And I kept the hotel also in here, as if this is I think it's just really cool. Just imagine living in that hotel. Potentially you would be scared to death, but I don't know. I think, you know, for the thrill seekers, that is definitely what you want to have. You can just go around here and just enjoy the view of the lagoon and see even the Raptor dome. I think it looks pretty cool. I think that would be something you could enjoy. And also, I think it fits very well over here. You can go in here, and then the staircase actually brings you above that level. So it looks almost realistic, also put exactly above here. The alignment really worked well. And I gotta have to put some more rocks in here. I just forgot. Don't look at it, okay? Just don't. And then, going further into the back, we have another herbivore area. I put the Ankylosaurus in here alongside with, now as they all don't combat, I could put some more animals in here. There you go, with the original Stegosaurus from 1993. design. I love it. It's a very cool pattern. It really is immediately giving me some nostalgia, so that's really cool. And this one is also in the back here, and we're going to put some others in here as well. I think some Gallimimus or so will do the trick as well. And a couple more Ankylosaurus will go in here as well. But yeah, that is basically it for the Jurassic Lagoon episode, and I'm massively happy with how that turned out. Honestly, this is one of the single examples where it actually came out a lot better than I expected, especially for the likes of Jurassic World Evolution, as a game that is obviously not as customizable as, for example, Planet Zoo is, but I think it still looks pretty dang cool. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did enjoy, you're new to the channel, or you have seen me a couple of times already and haven't subbed yet, please consider subscribing. That helps me the most. That tells the algorithm how much you like the content, if you do like, obviously, and it keeps helping me to reach my target to get maybe even 70,000 subscribers this year. I think, yeah, that might be a bit more of a stretch, but 65,000 is definitely doable. So thank you guys so much for your support. It really made me smile these last weeks. Pretty cool stuff, and yeah, you guys rock. Also, I really hope this is a bit of inspiration for you and you enjoy your time a bit more. And now I wish all of you a very happy day, a very happy evening, morning, whatever time it is you're watching this. Enjoy it, keep smiling, stay safe, and until next time.